Kettle Creek Conservation Authority wishes to acknowledge the treaty of the traditional lands originally occupied by the Indigenous First Nations people of the Anishinaabeg, Attawandaron, and Haudenosaunee nations. ACCA strives to build meaningful relationships with Indigenous communities and recognizes the importance of respect with these treaties and lands. Declaration of pecuniary interest with anyone? Okay.
Chair, before we get too far, can I just do a roll call? Todd Noble.
Present.
Lori Baldwin Sands.
Present.
Frank Burrs.
Present.
Jim Herbert.
Present.
Grant Jones.
Here.
Sharon McMillan.
Present.
Jerry Pribble. He was on. Jerry.
He was there, wasn't he?
He's muted.
Present.
Thank you. JJ Strybosh.
Present.
Sam Trousseau sent regrets, and John Wilson.
Present.
We have 9 out of 10 members.
Okay. Next on the agenda would be minutes from the last meeting, March 26th. Anybody have any concerns? Moved by Jim, seconded by Grant.
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Burrs.
Yes.
Herbert. Jones.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Pribble.
Yes.
Strybosh.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Noble.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Okay. Media report, Betsy.
Yeah, so just a few of our most popular content were provided in the package for you. So seasonal camping applications opened up and we had a good response to that. 20 new seasonal campers signed on between both parks. Next slide. Lake Whitaker cabin reservations did open on April 1st. We did have a good response to that as well. I think the numbers in the advanced package were 22 cabins rented, or 22 reservations for 48 total nights of cabin rentals within the first week. And then there were a number of articles in local newspapers. So one speaking to the Albion Clean Water Program and the funding available. The next one touched on Jeff as the tree commissioner for Albion County, provided a report to council on the spotted lanternfly. And lastly, there was another article that spoke to some of the land donations that we've received in the past couple of years.
Betsy, can I just ask a question about those lantern? I hadn't heard that before. What are they?
That's a better question for Jeff, but basically it's a new sort of invasive species. And from what I read, they target, a lot of the concern is over orchards and wineries are great. They target grapes. So it's a concern for those industries in particular. They're, I think, in Buffalo and New York currently, but it's just another one that's sort of in the vicinity that people are looking out
So
for.
along the lines of what they used to call gypsy moth?
I think, it's a different species than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question. When I understand you show view, reach, engage. What does reach mean?
I'll let maybe Jesse speak to that.
Yeah, so reach would be the amount of unique users who are interacting with the content or with the content.
Okay, so my view could be counted a number of times, but
Yeah.
I'm one individual.
Yeah,
Engagement, they actually write to us or try to contact us. Is that what they do?
So engagement would be either interacting with the post, so liking or loving the content, or sharing it or writing a comment. So it's kind of those three grouped together.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Elizabeth, project tracking.
So we're gearing up for our busy opening season. Lots of things happening to prepare for the campgrounds opening, as well as our just general springtime tree planting, things like that. We've developed a campground guide for all the campers coming into the campgrounds. Field equipment is being prepared for the season. A number of site visits for wetland creation and tall grass prairie projects, as well as tree planting sites. The cabin, we mentioned, Betsy already mentioned the cabins, but the revenue from that in the first week matched the revenue that we had all last year for the cabins. So we're pleased with the response so far and expect those reservations to go up as word of mouth travels as well. We have a number of new seasonal campers coming into the parks and filling those positions, and the weather cooperates, the campgrounds will open May 1st.
Okay, and watershed conditions, Jennifer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few highlights. We've had some crazy spring weather. It feels like it's non-ending wintry spring, but hopefully good weather is coming up. We had some cause for some weather statements to be put out. We did a watershed condition statement on April 1st, which was quickly upgraded to a flood watch on April 2nd. This was the Colorado low that came through. Our weather models suggested that it could have been a similar weather event to the flooding that we experienced in 2018. Fortunately, that didn't happen. However, it did require some operating of the Dalewood Dam and getting the logs out of the way just to make sure that any extreme water flows that went through were managed correctly. Lake Erie's static water level actually increased. In your package, there's a graph of the static water levels for Lake Erie, and you can see a major jump where it was kind of trending around the long-term average. Next, we had about 124% of the average monthly rainfall for March, which was a significant increase over February. And just a note for Ontario low water response, Lake Simcoe and Cataraqui region are in a level 1 low water condition for the southern region.
Okay, thank you. Will that indicate if the water will be high or low in Lake Erie this year, or does that tell us anything like that?
There is definitely some long-term trends for Lake Erie. It is very cyclical. I mean, the last few years we've seen higher water in Lake Erie, and now it's kind of gone down into the lower kind of, not low, it's actually close to average if you reference that graph. But it could be could indicate that there's lower water than the lakes this year, but it's also a seasonal trend. Everything should start going up as spring progresses.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Thank you. Elizabeth, good news story with the insurance renewal?
Very good news story. Not very typical for these types of discussions, but I think it speaks really to the collective Conservation Ontario is able to negotiate on behalf of the CAs that participate in this, but we've confirmed a successful renewal, and overall it was a 21% decrease for the program. That equated to about 15% decrease for us, but substantial when we're looking at our budget. I think the other piece of good news is that the coverage really didn't change, which is excellent as well. So you'll see I included basically a summary in the advanced package that we can just go to the next slide for the benefit of my, sorry, I thought it increased. Basically, there was no changes from last year. And I would say the deductibles were the same as well. So all in all, a really good news story.
Awesome. Jim?
Through the chair, thanks. I was intrigued by the statement just above on the chart, just above probably about the the employee dishonestly limit has increased from 150 to 250. Could you just expand on that? What are you actually saying in that statement? Dishonestly?
Employee dishonesty.
The coverage is increased, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, dishonesty has increased, 50 to 150.
That's covered, that's
That's the
coverage.
limit.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's the coverage limit or something like that.
Coverage limit.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. There's no dishonesty, it's just.
We haven't
the-
increased
Well, that's fine.
honesty
Yeah,
employee
Probably reading.
coverage.
Yeah,
Thank you. No, I just wanted clarification.
any other questions? Conservation Ontario update.
So Todd and I attended the Conservation Ontario meeting on Monday. It was their annual meeting, so there were elections of officers. So some slight changes there. There's a new chair, Dave Barton from Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, and the vice chairs are Pat Warren, she's returning from last year, and Ed McGugan comes on as the other vice chair. Just a couple of other things to highlight. They did circulate their annual report. And I just wanted to highlight, you received our annual report on our permitting timelines back in January. Those have all been compiled for all 36 As, and Conservation Ontario is reporting on that across the province, 96% of the permits have been issued within the timelines. That's a total of 7,180 permits in the province, total of all CAs, and that's just from April to December. That's the period of time where the new regulation took an effect and this annual permitting took an effect. So 93% were complete applications were reviewed within the timelines, and all 36 conservation authorities now have mapping available in some shape or form on their website as well. So I think it's a good news story, and just speaks to the level of effort that the CAs are undertaking to make sure their permits are getting out on time and efficiently as possible.
Thank you. Any questions? Can I get a mover and seconder that the 5 reports be received? Gordon, Sharon?
Baldwin Sands,
Yes.
Burrs,
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
McMillan,
Yes.
Cribble,
Yes.
Strybosh,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Noble,
Yes.
and that motion passes.
Okay. And correspondence from Mayor Morgan, City of London.
So this correspondence came out late last week with a motion and resolution from the City of London. They are looking ahead to their 2026 budget and asking boards and commissions to evaluate if there's any reductions that they can be made. Specifically, they're looking to save, and Jerry can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's a total of about $5 million that they're asking the boards and commissions to reduce their budget ask for in 2026, which equates to about 1.5% reduction. So they, my understanding is that the chair of their audit committee, Elizabeth Pelosa, and Mayor Josh Morgan are actually making rounds and making delegations to each of the boards and commissions to talk about this request. And seek cooperation in this ask to look at ways that we can reduce our budget ask by about 1.5% next year. City of London does look at a 4-year budget process. The submission that we provided to them was a 5% increase over existing levels for next year. I would say that in terms of our ask of the City of London, even this year, it was reduced just basically because of the modified current value assessment. So normally they would have had about a $47,000 increase, but because of the change in the modified value, the ask actually went down by about $19,000. And I would expect that decrease will continue or be about the same for next year based on that assessment. So just by virtue of the assessment, our budget is coming in lower than what we have projected in part of that 4-year budget. They are asking for this board to consider any reductions and hopefully submit them to by May 22nd. We're just simply not in the place to do that at this time. There's a lot of unknowns yet to come in for our budget next year. And I just feel right now anyways, that with that CVA adjustment and how lean we are right now, that further reductions without a really good analysis on our budget and how it affects everything is a little premature right now. But I'm happy to take questions or hear back from the board in terms of giving staff direction on that topic.
Any questions? Grant?
Just a
Is
comment. I know how hard staff works to maintain what we do with very little. I'm very appreciative of that fact, how hard they work to keep the wheels turning without overspending. So I'm concerned that we can start to regress from what we should be doing, and then some of the things we should be doing may not happen, and that would be a big concern if we reduce our budget too much.
Jerry?
Thank you. I just want to, everything that Elizabeth stated, I totally agree with. Just for your information, roughly $8 million represents 1% for City of London. I do have, Elizabeth, through the chair, I have a question for you. When you said it has, and as you stated, we do have a multi-year 4-year plan, and we do annually in the fall, we do the annual update for the following year. And you mentioned that the numbers from Kettle Creek due to the assessment have already been decreased. Now, this was in the 4-year that we have submitted, or has it been, for example, last year during the fall update decreased?
No, it wasn't updated in the fall update. It would just be usually what has happened when there's a change in assessment, the ask remains the same. So it was a 7% ask that remained in the fall budget. But then when I resubmit the actual invoice is when we actually know that CVA. And so the invoice put towards the city was reduced by that amount. So my understanding is the way city staff works is that amount stays in the budget and carries forward to next year. So I can reach out to staff and just make that clarification to them that there might already be savings within the budget without us going back and altering our budget just from the value of that CVA reduction.
That certainly would be, excuse me, thank you. And that certainly would be my recommendation. Last question, what is this percentage-wise? Do you know, Elizabeth, what is it percentage-wise, this decrease?
Basically, about a 1% would be $10,000 on our budget. But when one municipality asks us, for instance, for the City of London to ask us to come down $10,000, it actually means a $20,000 reduction in our budget, because we can't just reduce for one municipality and not for the rest. And City of London represents 50% of our budget. So it really has kind of a cumulative effect and gets a little complicated when one municipality is making that ask.
Okay, no, thank you. No more questions. And again, once as Elizabeth stated, this is going to all the ABCs, and this letter or presentation by the mayor and the chair is going to all ABCs. It truly is. It's not just pick and choose. It's all. Thank you. I have no more questions, but I would certainly, Elizabeth, my recommendation would be if you could please go back to the city staff and stated this fact.
I will.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other questions? No, mover and seconder that the correspondence be received. Frank and Sharon.
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Burrs,
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Pribble,
Yes.
Strybosh,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Noble,
Yes.
and that motion passes.
Okay. Statement of revenue and expenses.
So the statement was forwarded in the advanced packages. I don't think there's anything unusual happening there. You're already seeing the revenue starting to come in from the campgrounds, and the numbers that are there represent mainly the seasonal camper reservations and any reservations that we would have received in March online. So a good start to the year from that perspective.
Any questions?
I do, Jerry. Through the chair to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, how are we year on year? Are we at same pace, or are we below? Are we above? And that's one question. And the second one is, how are we doing in terms of the forecasting for the season? Same thing. Are we looking better? Same?
I would, for the year and for the season, we're better, if not slightly increased in terms of reservations.
Okay, so therefore money wise, because there were some increases, so finally we should be looking better, of course, as well.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. And sorry, and in terms of the pace currently, and I know there was a presentation earlier and it said we had 22 reservations. So year to date, are we same thing? Are we at par, below, above?
We're about at par for reservations.
Thank you. No more questions.
Can I get a mover and seconder that we approve the Jim and Grant?
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Burrs.
Yes.
Herbert.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Pribble.
Yes.
Strybosh.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Noble.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Okay. New business, update on the hearing guidelines. Elizabeth?
Mr. Chair, so the hearing protocol or procedures guideline has been around for a number of years. Because the regulation updated last April, Conservation Ontario has taken a look at the template that they provide for us for best management practices and compared it against the regulation, and have just made some minor adjustments or improvements on that. I compared our existing model against the best management practices of Conservation Ontario and just made those minor adjustments. So some of the adjustments were, I now included a definition section similar to Conservation Ontario. Also, a summary of the hearing requirements. So those opportunities where someone can ask for a hearing of the board or has the right to a hearing of the board. And the final change was just adding various appendices that provided templates that staff can use in terms of either chair remarks or letters notifying landowners of decisions. So very minor changes, but it brings us up to speed with the template that's being used across the province. So I'm just asking for a motion today to accept the hearing guideline updates be approved.
Okay. Lori, Grant?
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Burrs.
Yes.
Herbert.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Pribble.
Yes.
Strybosh.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Noble.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Okay. April planning and regulations report.
Mr. Chair, the report was put out in the advance package. There's nothing of concern there from staff's perspective. We're simply asking that the report be received.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
Mover and seconder.
I'll move it.
Frank moves. Anybody online that wants to move?
Sure,
Jerry?
JJ Strybosh, yeah.
There we go.
Okay, JJ.
Guy in the truck.
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Burrs.
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
McMillan,
Yes.
Pribble,
Yes.
Strybosh,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Noble,
Yes,
and that motion passes.
okay. And we'll move over to the Kettle Creek Source Protection Authority.
Before we do so, Mr. Chair, I just want to note and ask members that we add a legal matter to the closed session of the full authority. And yeah, we'll adjourn the full authority meeting and go to the Source Protection Authority meeting and then come back to finish the closed session.
Okay,
Sorry, not adjourn, just suspend the full authority meeting. No, that's right.
You
About
got
the
John,
Source Protection.
the sitting in the truck. I can chair meetings from sitting in. That's a challenge.
Nudge him every now and then, make sure he's awake.
Well, I'm in,
We heard that, we heard that, okay.
I wasn't driving back for the 2 hours for this one.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm just glad I have a good enough Wi-Fi and that I don't have to head into a restaurant or Timmy's. So
My closed session agenda last night was all blank again, all 4 pages. Same as it was last meeting.
This guy,
I think it's viewing it off of the iPad.
I have to do what?
Can we're still being recorded, so can I talk to you after about it? Because we're going into the source
Yeah, because
protection.
everything's there, just when you click on it, it doesn't bring up the agenda.
Yeah,
okay. We go through,
no, we can just go into the first agenda item.
all right, declarations of pecuniary interest on source protection. Okay, seeing none. Elections of officers and administrative approvals.
So we do attempt to keep the business of the Source Protection Authority separate and independent from the Conservation Authority. And what I would ask for then is that there be a motion that the chair, vice chair, and all officers elected or appointed by the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority in 2025 serve in the same role for the Kettle Creek Source Protection Authority in 2025.
Lori, seconder, Grant,
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Burrs.
Yes.
Herbert.
Yes.
Jones.
yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Pribble.
Yes.
Strybosh.
Yes.
Wilson.
yes.
Noble.
yes.
And that motion passes.
Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting from August 22nd, 2024. Recommendation that the minutes be approved. Jim? Frank?
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Burrs.
Yes.
Herbert.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Pribble.
Yes.
Strybosh.
Yes.
Trousseau. Sorry. Wilson.
Yes.
Noble.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Were we doing both minutes at the same time?
No,
Second, okay.
you didn't.
Okay. And then recommendation that the January 30th, 2025 Lake Erie Source Protection Committee meeting be received. Frank, Sharon?
Oh, I mean, go out there to the the guys in the ether. There he is.
You want John to move?
Yeah. You just moved that, John.
Baldwin Sands.
Did it.
Yes.
Burrs.
Yes.
Herbert.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Pribble. I think that was a yes. Strybosh.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Noble.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Okay. New business, Kettle Creek Annual Progress Report.
This is the annual report that must be submitted to the Ministry of Environment and Conservation by May 1st of every year. Basically, all of the ministries that have ministries or municipalities that have source protection policies that they must follow submit their information to the Lake Erie Source Protection region and then they compile them into these annual reports. One is public facing, and the other one that is a little much more detailed actually ends up going to the province. Slide. So the Source Protection Committee, the Lake Erie Region Source Protection Committee looks at that annual report and then makes a recommendation for this authority to then submit it to the ministry by May 1st. Next slide. So if you remember the Kettle Creek Source Protection Area, we have two municipal systems in the area. We have the surface water intake down in Port Stanley, and then two municipal wells in Belmont. Next slide. And the objectives of the Source Protection Plan are to protect existing and future drinking water sources and to ensure that existing activities never become significant drinking water threats. Slide. When you're looking at the annual report, the Source Protection Committee has the ability to assess whether the Source Protection Plan is progressing well, satisfactory, or limited progress. Next slide. I'm pleased to report that 100% of the legally binding plan policies implemented or in progress have been determined to need no further action. We have two significant drinking water threats in our region. One no longer exists, and the other is being managed through a risk management plan. So this report, an annual report, went to the Lake Erie Source Protection Committee, next slide, in March. They reviewed it and recommended it to this authority that it was progressing well and on target, and that, in their opinion, it should be submitted to the ministry this year. And so it's coming before you today to make a similar motion. Next slide. And that the staff report and the Kettle Creek Annual Progress Report we received as information that, in your opinion, the implementation of the plan is progressing well and on target, and that this authority direct the region staff to submit the annual progress report to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks.
Okay. Mover and seconder. I think Jerry is the last one that hasn't moved online. Did you want to move that, Jerry? Okay. Seconder?
I'll second.
Jim?
Baldwin Sands?
Yes.
Burrs?
Yes.
Herbert?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
What a good chair.
Yes.
Drybosh?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
And Noble.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Okay. And our next meeting for the source protection will be as required.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just, if I can just have a mover to stand adjourned from the source protection meeting at 10:30.
Sharon? Grant?
And I'm assuming everyone's in favor of that. So we stand adjourned from the Source Protection Authority meeting at 10:30. And now we can have a motion to go and close for the full authority meeting.
Okay. Jerry, are you moving that or? He had his arm out,
Oh, I don't know what he's doing there.
testing his. Mover and seconder to move into closed. Frank? Sharon?
Baldwin Sands?
Yes.
Burrs?
Yes.
Herbert?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McMillan?
Excuse me, yes.
Cribble?
Yes.
Drybosh?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Noble?
Yes.
We're in closed session.